Carolyn Flexer.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm one of the co-founders of Deaf Moose and founded the company in 2008 with my husband and a friend of ours. And we have been growing this year. So this is our team now. We're a team of 20. We have 16 in San Mateo, California, and 4 in Shanghai. So we will join you for Duster Magic in Shanghai.
Oh.
So this is not what we all normally look like, but this is Halloween in California. So we had storybook characters, Minecraft, of course, and some apps.
I just want to be clear, there is no Duster Magic in Shanghai that I know of. So, yeah, that's how App Camp got started, so I don't know. Gary, could we go to China?
I think so.
Yeah, that'd be cool. All right.
So I am going to talk about designing around a curriculum, as Warren had suggested. This is hard, and what we've discovered we've just launched our 18th title, and so we've done a range of apps from nursery school, nursery rhyme apps to creative play, and most recently some of these more robust curriculum apps. And it's hard because I think there are 3 main components. There's a big component of play. All of our apps start with play, start with a play pattern. And then there's an assessment piece. So how do you design the levels in the curriculum to assess what a child knows? And this is where a lot of apps stop in the curriculum run. There are a lot of apps that do a great job of seeing and testing whether the child knows some information or skills. But if they don't know them, it's really hard to acquire the knowledge. And so this is where we really believe that for a curriculum app, it's important to also extend the learning. And this is what we saw as a really challenging part. And I'll go through the 3 different areas today and explain how we dealt with those in 2 of our recent apps, Moose Math and Pet Bingo. So first on to play. Moose Math, the idea here was that there's this fantastical world of these dust bunny characters, and they live in the corners of your house, so it's a tiny, tiny world. And what you do is you help these characters in their pet store or in their lost and found or in their moose juice store to make juice. And as you do these different things, you'll be able to grow your store. So your store will grow, the city will grow itself too, and you can build your own version of the world. And Moose Math is aligned with Common Core standards from kindergarten and 1st grade. And I'll show you a little bit of how the city building works. So you can pick different things, and this is how the city looks after you've played it for a while. So if you've just played for a few levels, you won't see a city like this, but this is after a child has added a lot of different things, and all of the elements are interactive. And this is also the first app where we worked with animators. And just to give you a glimpse behind the scenes of how that works, this is After Effects that our animators work in. And one of our animators put together a quick video to show the animation process.
This is the digital puppet of one of our Dust Bunny characters. By adjusting the transparency, you can see the different parts the puppet is made up of. In order to illustrate this more clearly, I'll pull the character apart. The animator manipulates these parts one at a time to put the character into different poses. A series of these poses, presented over time, is what creates the illusion of movement. Each angle of the character requires a brand new set of artwork, which is created by our team of artists ahead of time. Thanks for watching.
That was Sean, and these are some of his creations. Kissing. Of course, the shaking heads too. And music has always been a big component of all of our apps. I play the violin, my husband plays the cello, and so we produce the music in our apps ourselves. And with Moose Math, I think we composed and recorded over 15 different songs and compositions just for this app.
We are the Dust Bunnies, learning our 1, 2, 3s, building our town from what we found. So if you're around, then come on down. There is Moose, the shop is juice, Sass talks very quickly. Naughty and Malcolm make a mess, and Puck likes to act silly. But if they work together, what will happen next? They'll build their town right from the ground, and they'll be a success. Bunnies, learning our 1, 2, 3s.
So that's the play aspect, which is very similar to a lot of our other apps we've done thus far. So now on to assessment and really designing the levels and the curriculum to assess what a child knows. And so the example here is Pet Bingo, which was a follow-on to Moose Math. We saw that a lot of the older children liked the bingo activity, and so this one aligns with kindergarten through 4th grade Common Core math standards. And just for a seemingly simple math game, we had 72 learning goals, and we worked with Jennifer DeBrenzia, who's on our team, and did her dissertation, PhD dissertation at Stanford on early elementary math education. And so we had all of our artists as well as engineers in the room with her from the beginning of the project, understanding how children develop these and learn these math concepts. So not only from a theoretical standpoint, but also from a practical standpoint, how they teach this in the classroom. She taught in the New York City Public Schools for 8 years. And so she would teach us things like counting. To us adults, counting sounds quite simple, but there are actually a lot of different components to it. So for example, the child needs to learn the sing-song of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just remembering what the order of the numbers is. Then they need to understand the one-to-one correspondence, that one object goes with the first number and then the second number, and then they need to understand that the last number is really the quantity of numbers. So there's a lot involved in a seemingly simple concept of counting. So she really helped us tease apart all of that and translate those into activities that would reinforce the different aspects of learning how to count, for example, in Moose Math. So in terms of assessment, designing with all of these learning goals, it's quite a complex project with lots of spreadsheets and figuring out the pacing of it. So it's not only the educational pacing and how you're going to divide the curriculum into different levels, but it's also the engagement pacing. So we would time how long it would take a typical 5 or 6-year-old to complete things, because you don't want it to be too hard or take too long for the engagement piece of it, but then there's also the different levels of curriculum that we need to get through. So all the mechanics of understanding that and the accuracy and how they're getting through that, we have to track all of the analytics behind that. And we translated that into report cards so that parents and teachers can see how a student is progressing through the different content. So now on to the learning, which is our ultimate goal in these apps. This is where I feel we needed to invent new ways of delivering curriculum, because it's pretty easy in interactive content to present the information and see if the child knows it's just correct or not correct. And one of the ways that we did this was through this character, Yaya. So she's the purple bird, and we called her an adaptive character because we wanted her to respond to how children were interacting in the app. So she would, we had to, and this was not a trivial process, we came up with about 500 different educational hints, both visually as well as audio hints. And we didn't want her to be too annoying. Some testing, kids would be like, wow, she's so annoying. So we wanted to really be high in child control. So she really only talks when you tap on her or when you've done something and then you're asking for some hints. So if a child doesn't understand a concept, she can provide different information. So this is an example of how it's a 3 + 7. And we heard from Jennifer that teachers use some standard ways of teaching numbers, including dice and reckon rack dots. which are the ones shown on the left there. So if you tap on Yaya, you'll see the same problem and the same concept in different ways. And then we would see that children would start counting the dots on their fingers or, and then combining the dice. And something that's very important for us is for children to be able to think flexibly about these concepts, because obviously there are a lot of different ways to think about a certain problem. With geometry, similarly, we would have one hint, and then if the child wanted another hint and tapped, we would present the problem in different ways. And there was also counting by 2s and 5s and 10s, where we presented the information in different ways. So I'll give you a couple quick clips of how this worked.
Now
This is
let's
a
make a
recipe maker.
watermelon cooler.
So the child is dragging. Let's say they drag too many things into the blender. If you tap on Yaya, you'll get
Three
it.
pieces of lime from the blender.
So kids like to put the fruit on Yaya's head.
Piece of lime from the blender. Good job.
Just whenever.
And the color.
And this was a paint pet exercise where children would match the
Awesome
colors as
sauce.
well. And this is a toy box where we were presenting geometry, and
We are looking for 5 purple hexagons.
so you only hear from her if you tap on her
Has
again.
6 sides.
Skip over this.
You got it.
And these are examples from Paint Pet where, you know, this is for older kids, so we were introducing number line where if you had a problem, 23 plus 12, one way to think of it would be to take the 23 and then add 10, because that's a lot easier to do first, and then add another 2. So teaching children to think about this flexibly. Jennifer used the word automaticity, which is a fancy word for saying that you want to be able to think about the numbers quickly, not just memorize them, but really have a core understanding of how to think about numbers and solve these problems quickly. And then one other example at the top right is 14 times 17. One way to break it down would be to break down the 14 on the left-hand side, 10 and 4, and then break down the 17 on the top, 10 and 7, and then just multiply the separate ones and then add them up. So again, just presenting problems in different ways. And then we always do a lot of play testing in all of our apps, but with these curriculum apps, we found that we had to do some different type of testing. Of course, we were testing for engagement and what made kids giggle like we always do, but in addition, we had to test for whether they were really comprehending the information and whether they were really thinking about it, because it's so easy to design an experience where there's just the random drag and you get the feedback and you can just get through the problems. But with this one, we saw that kids were counting on their fingers and really thinking about things. And then most importantly, I think a really good indicator that they're grasping the concepts is if they can take it from one concept from one activity and apply it to a different activity.
Be honest with me. It's boring or not fun, you'll tell me. Do you want to create your own street?
Aspen Street. Cool. Amazing. I need 5?
They're about 5 years old. The kindergartners.
3, 4 more.
So if I could tell the people making this game to change things, what would you want to change in it? Do you like that?
Hey, how come it didn't do so? beautiful, beautiful. High five.
And then with the reporting, we wanted to highlight the top 3 skills in each area for kids to improve. And in conjunction with that, we had some offline games and activities, so card games and things that would use the same characters and some of the same material, but applying it in different settings for children to extend the learning. So just to wrap up, these stats on Moose Math, 30 learning levels covering 112 learning goals. It covered 15 Common Core standards, 15 original songs, and over 170 sound effects, more than 500 audio recordings just of Yaya the bird. And so there's a lot more than meets the eye if you're just playing with it for a few minutes. And consequently, there were over 100,000 ducks found in the app. It's just a little hidden duck thing. Over 1.6 million pieces of fruit thrown on Yaya's head, and over 3 million dollars.
Take some questions. While we set up the demo.
I will play Taco Bell with you next time.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
Thanks, Caroline. That was awesome. Just wanted to ask, I guess, 2 questions. Firstly, why you shifted into more, I guess, formal curriculum-based applications, and secondly, once you've created them, how are you actually getting them to school?
Oh, yeah. So just to be clear, I think we are seeing sales into schools, but we're also selling just to our regular market of parents, and so it's not just targeted for schools. And in terms of getting into it, I think it's one of the things we had done Park Math and WordWagon earlier on, so we'd always been interested in education. We're still doing creative play apps. We have a couple more coming out at the end of the year. I didn't have time to show, but so it's not just a whole shift in our company.
How much do the apps cost now?
Moose Math is $1.99, and Pet Bingo, it's launch week, so it's currently 99 cents.
So 99 cents, you basically get the complete math curriculum for K to 3,
4.
K to 4, with reporting, report cards. Interesting, right? So are you making money?
We're making some money.
I'm curious what the most difficult concept to teach was, since you're approaching the different math concepts. What was really hard to get right?
Yeah, I think for us it was because we had such great support from the teachers. It wasn't a specific math concept, but it was the balancing between covering so much curriculum and still making it engaging and not feel repetitive, like we were just churning through things.
A lot of us with apps struggle with the pricing question. Did you try out $199, $299?
We tried $3.99, we tried $2.99. We balanced out at $1.90.
$199 balanced out? Oh, I thought it was $99.
Just Pet Bingo, it's the first week of launch, so we're at 99 cents, but it will be $1.99.
Hi, are you using the new app ages categories or not?
We are. So,
And does it matter for you?
well, we see it as an additional category to be in. So if you're in the kids category, which has the ages, you can also still be in education and kids games. So to us, that's just seems like a great benefit.
No, go ahead. Then we'll get you.
It's so beautiful. You do such a remarkable transition from creative play apps, and I don't mean this in a mean way, the simpler activities for kids. They can, it's a shorter seat time. You do such a lovely transition from something that's so simple, it's a shorter period of time for the kids to play, shorter period of time, less overall goals, to something more complex and comprehensive. And it's so remarkable that you can have your feet in both worlds for that. But feel free to defer this question by drawing our attention to the shiny lamps. When she said, she asked about price point, and you said we tried $3.99, we tried $2.99, we tried $1.99. What does that look like? How did you know $1.99 was a thing, and what were your goals? What was that internal decision-making process like?
Yeah, so I think, it's very easy to test pricing on the App Store, and so we do see, it's pretty elastic actually, so and the market is pretty efficient, so we just wanted to be at a lower price so that we could be higher in the ranking and have more exposure.
So it wasn't about number of downloads as much as it was about ranking for you?
Right, so obviously at a higher price you'll have lower downloads, but your overall revenue is about the same until you get over like $3.99 or so. But we opted for keeping it at $1.99 so that we can still have higher ranking. Does that make sense?
Share, if not, lovely, like pictures of the room, what those dollar figures for you were from as far as ranking. Did you have, Earl talked about they wanted to get this amount of money in the first month. Do you look at it in terms of that, the first week? How do you
Yeah, we see the numbers as a longer term thing. It's going to take us a while to break even on Moose Math. That was our most robust app by far. So the jury's still out whether we're going to make that one break even.
So, okay, can I ask related to Barbara's question? So, like, if you're in the top 10 at $1.99 versus being in, say, the top 40 at $2.99, do you see a better return at $1.99 in the top 10?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Thanks.
It's like the shuttle with booster rockets. You guys were, we saw you at the very beginning, and you're taking off, and then you kind of took on this new role, took on a bunch of funding, increased the team, and now you're planning for that next set of booster rockets, so that you're balancing this very interesting money versus.
Yeah, and I think times have really changed. We were at the App Store when Wheels on the Bus could be the #1 educational app for 9 months straight back in 2009, 2010. Gone are those days. Nobody's #1 for that long.
I wonder, first of all, it's so awesome that you've gotten that depth. Second, when you first started, how do you get known? It's probably that there were fewer, it's so cute, I know. But what did you do for promotion to get known?
So that's a great question. We're still wondering about promotion. That's not our strength. We see our strength as product, and we've really just focused on product. Even as we've grown the team, we actually don't have a marketing person on board yet. We're trying. I think, we've just done pretty minimal marketing, which is kind of an outlier in the industry. I think most people of our size do a lot more marketing. I think we could benefit from. I think we need to build that skill set.
And you guys were right at the beginning, so you're a pioneer, but
Right,
still a
so that
startup
helps.
though, right?
But we're a startup.
Still a startup, okay.
Lots of uncertainty.
Android?
Android, yes. So we're launching 4 new on Android. There's Google Play for Education that we're really excited about. So we've made a push to do that with our larger team as well.
Carolyn Flexer.